All right, guys. So now let's talk a little bit about, I just mentioned Kamala only has to avoid stepping in shit in order to win this election at this point, right? Trump is imploding. The Republicans are overreaching. Their polls are slipping super fast. But she needs to make sure, just don't have any big fuck-ups, right? Just don't have any big fuck-ups. Don't, put your middle finger up to your base and spit in their eye and tell them to go fuck themselves. That's it. That's all you have to do. And you can kind of cruise to Election Day, and everything will be hunky-dory for you. Well, guess what? A couple days ago, as I'm sure you all saw by now, she was doing a rally in Michigan, and she made what I think is her first relatively big mistake. So let's watch it, and then I'll break it down. Take a look.
I'm here because we believe in democracy. Everyone's voice matters, but I am speaking now. I am speaking now. So Project 2025. Look, if he is elected, Donald Trump intends to give tax breaks to billionaires and big corporations. He intends to cut Social Security and Medicare. He intends to surrender our fight against the climate crisis, and he intends to end the Affordable Care Act. You know what? If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that, otherwise I'm speaking.
So you couldn't hear it from that video, but some pro-Palestine protesters stood up and chanted, "Kamala, Kamala, you can't hide. We charge you with genocide." Now, before her speech here, she apparently met with some of these people, these uncommitted voters, where they voted for uncommitted over Biden during the primary over the issue of Gaza. And she reportedly said to them, look, I'm willing to meet with you again. We can meet again. They were saying, we need a full arms embargo, or we can't support you. We want to support you, but we can't unless you do a full arms embargo to Israel. Perfectly reasonable request. She goes, look, I'm open to it, but let's meet again, right? So she met with them beforehand, had that conversation. Then they protested during her speech anyway, which, by the way, that's probably the first point where now there's a little bit of tension, where you have some of the resistance liberals saying they shouldn't have even protested. She met with them beforehand. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I think it's good to meet with her beforehand, good to get her on the record, good to set up a meeting for the future, but them protesting during the speech anyway is a message that this is not just some normal shit. This is not like, hey, we just have a difference of opinion, and if you happen to go against us, it's totally fine. This is like, we are anti-genocide. Are you anti-genocide also, yes or no? And so stepping up and protesting is letting her know this issue is not going away. We are still going to protest. By the way, what the fuck do you think is going to happen at the DNC? The DNC, you think this was a strong protest? It's going to be way more people at the DNC. And again, they are correct. These are not people. Let's be clear about this, because here's where the lies come in. These people want Trump to win, and that's why that's what Kamala said in this clip too. If you want Trump to win, keep going. If not, I'm speaking. She got genuinely mad there. Kamala, you know that they don't want Trump to win. Everybody attacking them knows they don't want Trump to win. The options for these people are as follows. Sit on the couch, vote Jill Stein, vote Cornel West, or vote Kamala Harris. That's what everybody, 99.9% of the people who are part of the Uncommitted movement, that's what they're going to do. It's incumbent on you. It is your job to let them know, assuage their fears, and say, no, I'm going to go in a different direction on Gaza, because we're not going to continue with green lighting an absolute bloodbath and a genocide. We're not going to send Israel endless money. We're not going to send them endless weapons. We're not going to, act like Netanyahu is a serious person who deserves our respect, right? She was doing well on this issue. She was very, very cold to Bibi in the meeting she had with him. She did not go to Bibi's speech. There's been signals that she's not totally in agreement with Joe Biden, who's an absolute psychopath Zionist on this issue and is totally fine with carpet bombing women and children. So she was showing good signs, but now this is definitely a setback. Look, here's the bottom line, guys. I'm not asking for the moon and the stars here, and I don't think the protesters are either. All we needed was sort of like honestly, an Obama-like response. Obama knew how to handle protesters like this. People are bringing up the old, protests against Obama where some dreamers were He knows how to disarm them. He knows how to let them know, like, look, I hear you, bro. We're going to work on this, right? Even there was a clip of Joe Biden. Now, Joe Biden's policy on Gaza has been absolutely pathetic and horrible and the worst, right? But there even was a clip of Joe Biden that was floating around social media after this, where even Joe Biden was like, look, be gentle with it. There were pro-Gaza protesters interrupting him. He's like, look, be gentle with them. They're right. We have to care about Gaza. We need to put more care into Gaza. And so, look, her reaction could have been something as simple as, and I showed you the full clip, by the way. There's people who are showing a smaller portion, which makes it look a little worse than it is. I showed you the full thing. Like, clearly she struggles with it at the beginning, and then she lashes out. But she very easily could have said, reiterate, yeah, look, I support a permanent ceasefire. And once I'm in the White House, we're going to bring peace to the region. There's going to be no more war. It's over. That's all you have to fucking say. That's all you have to say. And then everybody goes, okay, all right, that wasn't bad. I kind of support that, right? But she couldn't bring herself to do it. And that's a red flag. Keep it real. It's a red flag. It's also a red flag than the previous events that we've seen. She doesn't even have a fucking single line about Gaza. Well, you're doing a rally in Michigan. You're doing a rally in Michigan. There's a lot of states that have Arab American and Muslim American populations that are watching what you do and determining how they're going to fucking vote. These are states where if you win, you're going to win by a slim margin. You want to piss off tens of thousands of people by not saying the most obvious thing in the world on the issue of Gaza? Which again gets to the question here. How will she actually govern on Gaza? What decisions will she actually make on Gaza? I don't know. I don't know the decisions. I think it can't be worse than Biden, right? It's possible that... Is it unfair to say she might continue exactly as it is? Is that unfair? It's a question. It's a possibility, right? It's also a possibility she's far, far better. And if she's not willing to cut off the weapons, she at the very least may be willing to threaten to cut off the weapons, which might get them to stop anyway, right? Do I think that she could be as bad as Trump on the issue of Palestine? I don't think she can be because, frankly, Trump is taking $100 million from Miriam Adelson, Sheldon Adelson's wife, and there's part of that is, hey, you need to let Israel totally annex the West Bank. So he's already green-lighting that shit, just like he, did a green light for moving the embassy to Jerusalem and doing the Abraham Accords, which helped lead to October 7th. He's been saying they need to finish the job. He's been insulting people by calling them a Palestinian, right? So if anything, Trump's going to send more money. He's going to send more weapons. He's going to have zero guardrails whatsoever, even fewer than there are right now, right? So Trump's going to be worse. There's no doubt about that. But people are putting pressure on you in good faith to get you to do the right thing. And look, if the issue of genocide is not pressing enough to get you to understand protest is the right response, then there is no issue pressing enough. And your real position is shut the fuck up forever, fall in line, and let me do my thing. And I don't want to hear a peep of criticism, right? Look, the campaign so far, keep it real, has been going great for Kamala. She picked Tim Walz. Tim Walz was the best of all the possible options on every issue, both foreign policy and domestic policy. She deserves a lot of credit for that. She's had half-decent instincts to this point. But a mistake's a mistake, and the truth is the truth. And in this instance, all you have are good faith people who genuinely want you to stop a genocide, stop sending money, stop sending weapons to Israel. There is nothing to criticize there. Absolutely nothing. And all of the smears of these people, it's disgusting. I love one of the arguments people are going with, why don't you protest Donald Trump? Well, first of all, they do, right? Like Donald Trump gets protested all the time, as he should be. But second of all, Donald Trump, there's a 0% chance, by my estimation, based on Trump's policies last time and what he says he wants to do this time, that he's going to go in the right direction. There's actually a chance Kamala will, but she might need to be pushed a little bit. And that's what these people are trying to fucking do, right? That's what they're trying to do. So... First big mistake, in my opinion, and you know it was a bad move because you had all these right-wing accounts and all of the worst resistance liberals were cheering her on and yes-queening her. That's how you know it was a bad move. Look, your job is to shore up your base and keep your base excited because guess what? By shoring up your base, you're not pissing off moderates, you're not pissing off centrists and independents, you're not pissing off swing voters by shoring up your base. Guess what? Moderates and independents and swing voters, turns out they don't like carpet-bombing toddlers either. So these people are helping you. They're helping you. And you might not realize that. But that was the first actual real amount of passion I've seen come out of Kamala Harris in the election cycle so far. And it was basically to berate these people and to say, shut the fuck up, I'm talking. You know, that definitely could have been handled better. And let's alternate timeline here. Let's say she came out and said what I hope she would say. Look, I hear you. You absolutely have a point. We're going to work on getting a permanent ceasefire, not some bullshit semi-ceasefire where they come back in a week and start bombing again. We're going to get a permanent ceasefire, and we're going to bring peace. And if that requires prodding Israel and twisting their arms, so be it. If she said that, this entire segment would be me singing her praises. But she didn't say that. And I think people fear, hey, that might show her true colors on this issue. And this is not just any other issue. This is not, oh, hey, let's agree to disagree, and let's, reasonable people could... Wrong. Reasonable people cannot disagree on the issue of minimum 49,000 Palestinians being killed in a few months. That's not something where reasonable people don't disagree on, hey, should Israel cut off the food, the fuel, the water, and the electricity for all these people? Should Israel bomb UN buildings and hospitals and schools? Reasonable people don't disagree on that. There are monsters and there are non-monsters. That's how this conversation is divvied up. So let's call a spade here. So anyway, not a good answer from Kamala, not a good harbinger of things to come. But what I would say is to all the pro-Palestine protesters, keep going. Keep going. Keep going to the speeches, right? I would also say, yeah, go to all the Trump speeches. Fuck him. Keep going to all the speeches. Keep haranguing them. Go to the DNC. Make a big stink about it. Because, look, I think the pressure in due time will absolutely work. I do. And I think that the pressure on this issue may have been one of the reasons she ended up picking Tim Walz. That may have factored into the equation. He's the least bad on this issue of all the candidates, so maybe that's why. That's one of the reasons. So keep going, and they'll get the lesson. They'll get the lesson one way or another. And remember, in doing this, you are actually helping her. This isn't like bad faith criticism from the right. Where oh, you should have picked Josh Shapiro because we're really scared of him and he would have been a better candidate. Really, Newt Gingrich? You're giving good faith advice to the Democrats? Adam Johnson calls this the inexplicable Republican best friend. You're not giving good faith advice. You're trying to rig the game and have the person picked who's easiest to attack so you can attack. These protesters are not doing that. They're not doing the bad faith. They genuinely want a genocide to stop, and they genuinely want you to rep that position. That will be good morally, substantively, and politically. So take their word. Is war with Iran inevitable? Is war with Hezbollah inevitable? We are on the absolute brink of having that happen. So I had a very long, detailed, deep conversation about this with an expert on the issue, Omar Badr. You don't want to miss it. So sign up below on Substack. If you pay $5 a month, you get the video of every interview and you get it a day early. Or you could also sign up for free and just get the audio podcast when it drops a day later. So do yourself a favor and sign up below. Thanks, guys.
Here's Twitchy Tim on stage, waving profusely in a very unsettling manner. Very unsettling. Men should not move this way. It's not the way we move. And the handshake is probably the most telling. This is Walz and his wife shaking hands like business associates, followed by a weird hug. Now let's compare that to Walz's interaction with Kamala's husband, Doug. Interesting. What's going on here?
Twitchy Tim, men don't move like that, and then implying that he's gay. Hey, Jesse Waters, I would be very, very careful if I were you. Because from where I'm sitting, I see a story like once a month of some fundamentalist evangelical Christian or some right-wing commentator or some right-wing politician who has a long track record of slamming homosexuality, then they get caught blowing some dudes in a New Jersey Turnpike bathroom. Or they get caught in a hotel room doing crystal meth off of a gay stripper's asshole. Do you have any idea how long the list is of closeted gay conservative Republicans who are all about traditional marriage is the way to go. We don't think gay marriage is right. We don't think gay rights make sense. And then the second nobody's looking, what are we doing here? What are we doing? Twitchy Tim? Men don't move like that. Men don't move like that. Every video you showed is perfectly normal. And by the way, you want to talk about, men moving weird? How about Don Jr. when he snorts enough cocaine to kill a horse, as we see like every other day? He does a podcast. And he's like, and then Daddy said to me, and Daddy's right, and the liberals are so bad, they're libtards. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? This is what they do when they have nothing. Their big line of attack that they're going with, you've all seen it and we've covered it, is stolen valor. He did stolen valor, and he said he was in war, but he wasn't really in war, and he was in the military, but he left the military before the Iraq war, and he slithered out the door. Well, come to find out, he left the military 2 months before his unit was called up to the Iraq war. So in other words, it wasn't like he heard, oh, you're going to be deployed, and then he's like, all right, I'm out, I'm not going. He had already submitted his papers 2 months before that. And by the way, even if he did submit his papers, the day they learned they were going to Iraq, I would have done the same shit. The war in Iraq was bullshit. So he's being attacked for being right before everybody else. He's like, oh, he knows this is a bullshit war based on lies. The stuff they're saying is not true. And he wants to get the fuck out of there and go be with his family and go get a new career because he doesn't want to be cannon fodder for George W. Bush's lies. We should give the guy a fucking medal and a crown, not attack him for it. Are you dense? They have nothing, guys. They think it's 2004. I love the idea that they're attacking him. Stolen valor. Look, Donald Trump, very famously, got a diagnosis of bone spurs to get out of Vietnam. You have a fucking draft dodger over here. Way, way worse offender by any objective metric in the situation. Also, by the way, you're a fucking convicted felon, and there's 86 criminal charges against you, and you think it's the stolen valor is disqualifying. Well, what the fuck is it for 86 criminal charges and a fucking felony conviction that you already have, and being found liable for tax fraud and insurance fraud and business fraud and defamation as it relates to sexual assault, and Trump University, that was outed as a fraud too, and you had to pay millions of dollars to people who you fucking defrauded. What are we doing here? You guys are going to be clutch my pearls. Oh, shut up. Just shut up. All of you shut up. Actually, don't. Keep going, because it is doing nothing but helping the Democrats. Again, if all you have is, oh, you're a communist, oh, you're an extremist, oh, you're radical. Okay, you say that about anybody. Oh, you love the transgender. You know what some idiots on the right are calling him? Tampon Tim. You want to run an election based on tampons? Go right ahead. Guys, we've run this experiment before when these idiots get obsessed with social issues. We've seen it. The year everybody, red wave, it's going to be a red wave, red wave, red wave, red wave, red wave. Remember what happened that year? It wasn't. It was a red trickle. Why? Well, somebody crunched the numbers, and in dozens of the House races, they were running ads on trans shit. And basically the argument is the Democrats are pro-trans and we're not. How'd that work out for you? Turns out you idiots lost. So go ahead, lean in, trans this, tampon that, communist this, twitchy Tim that, the fucking stolen valor. And none of it's going to land. None of it's going to land. This is the least sophisticated shit I've ever seen in my life. You are absolutely flailing in the wind. But it's a glorious, glorious thing to see. And again, the more they bring up communist, the more they bring up radical extremist, the more you're going to see what Tim Walz's record actually is. And that they cannot compete with. They cannot compete with free school breakfast for kids, with free school lunch for kids. They cannot compete with higher wages for construction workers. They cannot compete with higher wages for nursing home workers. I mean, the guy's record is impeccable. The guy's record is immaculate. So go ahead. The more you say that, the more we're fighting on democratic terms, and it's not going to work out well for you.